What's up, everybody? Welcome to Digital Audio DAPR 300R Audio Industry. Today, guest is here in class with us, and it's Nate Pyfer. Nate and I actually were students together here at Utah Valley University sometime back, I don't know, probably 2008-ish, and maybe 2007. Can't remember. Sometime a long time ago. I'm really glad to have Nate with us here. If you guys don't know anything about him, we're going to delve into his illustrious audio career. He sits behind the desk all day, makes cool noises, and there are days where I'm very jealous of what he gets to do because he doesn't have to do Canvas.
That's right. That's literally that's the best thing that I don't have to do.
That you don't have to do is Canvas. So Nate, tell us what got you interested in your start in audio.
So I mean, to my start in audio, I actually when I was in high school focused on basketball and was like, I am for sure going to be in the NBA, and worked everything that I could do to just be the better basketball player. I used to work at like basketball camps over the summer, all of these kind of crazy things. When I was a junior in high school, kind of at the peak of my awesomeness at basketball, I jacked up my knee, went into the darkest of depressions, and luckily around Christmas, my parents gave me a bass guitar for Christmas, and I learned how to play Zombie by the Cranberries because it's 4 notes over and over and over and over, and was just like, this is the greatest thing I've ever done, right? And I had a buddy back in the 90s again who had an old Tascam 4-track cassette recorder, and I was like, bro, can I borrow this thing? And he's like, yeah, but you'll have to buy your own cassette tape. So I was just like, okay, right. So I went to Radio Shack, rest in peace. And I bought a cassette tape, threw that cassette tape in that 4-track, recorded the worst recording you've ever listened to, but just like cried. I was like, this is magical. Like, this is so freaking dope, man. And from there on, just realized like, this is the coolest thing that could possibly be invented. And I can write and record my own little songs at home. And so kind of as the years went, I mean, another pivotal moment was like, I was like 2021. So, 2000, oh man, I guess I was a little older than that, maybe 22, 23. I got a computer early 2000s, and this MacBook that I got had GarageBand on it, right? And I stole a copy of Reason from a buddy on CDs. You actually used to have to like steal them on like DVDs. And I could program little beats on a timeline and then throw them into GarageBand and record my other terrible little songs on it. And I was just like, this is magical. I can't believe we have the technology to do this, right? And so that's really foundationally where I didn't know what a music producer was until 2010, right? 2011. I just knew that the only reason I would ever record or ever write songs was so that I could record them. And I didn't care if the songs were good because I was like, that doesn't matter. It's like, how like some people really love corn on the cob. Nobody actually likes corn on the cob. They just like butter and salt and pepper. And corn on the cob provides a means to eat butter where you don't have to look at yourself in the mirror and like have some tough conversations. That for me is like, songs were only to be that butter boat, basically, but yeah, so that's as the technology advanced, and as I started really getting into the analog world, I mean, that's when I was like, this is just mad science, and this is truly magical, and I still feel like that, having whatever that is, 30 years later, I still just like, I start turning knobs and I'm just like, I can't believe that you can send electrical signals through wires, run them through circuits, run them through attenuators, run them through transformers, and out from that comes something that physically moves people,
Yeah. So you got started playing the bass guitar, but you've obviously expanded very broad beyond the bass guitar.
Mhm.
What is your favorite instrument to create on?
Oh man, that's funny. So it's not I do play a lot of instruments now, which again, like I only learned how to play out of kind of necessity. Like I taught myself how to play the guitar because I wanted to get a date in high school, and you can't write bass songs for people. Like girls don't care about the bass, right? And so I had to learn how to play the guitar, which my sister got an acoustic for Christmas. I was like, you know. So I taught myself how to play that, and I was like, okay, I really love this. And then I got a little electric guitar rig, and but it was only so I could have pedals, right? And I was just like, oh yeah, chicks will totally dig this, but they didn't. And then but then I like taught myself how to play the keyboards because I knew that Joshua James was looking for a keyboard player, and I lied, was like, I can play that. And he's like, sweet, come to practice and have these 5 songs learned. And I was just, row, you know? So I taught myself how to play the piano, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, at least enough to play chords. And I do a lot of synthesis, and I teach a synth class down at June Audio. I try to build synths, you know, with my friends. I do a lot in like the synth world, and so that's probably like the sound design stuff. That's probably my favorite instrument, but kind of from like a philosophical level, I see the recording studio as an instrument. And that's truly my favorite instrument to play is like, dude, I don't believe somebody has to know how to shred on something to find a way to make noise compelling, right? And so a lot of my studio, I keep packed with instruments that nobody knows how to play, including myself, because I would love, you know, when Sego's in town, it's like, I would love for Spencer to go and be like, what does this do? And just start pushing buttons or just start twisting knobs. And for me, I'm just like, record. Something in there is going to be able to be manipulated in a way that's going to be like, a listener's going to be like, how on earth did they make that? And we'll be like, by hitting record, you know, like that's how we made it. So,
Yeah.
So the studio's definitely my favorite instrument, but I really love like the synth world.
Yeah, do you have any like favorite synthesizers that?
Sure, some people swear by like the vintage analog stuff, and I love that stuff. A lot of people are like, I love the ease of use of like modern kind of digital synthesis. And I'm like, I love that stuff too. Some people are fully in the box. Hey, I love pulling up Pro Tools and throwing some plugins on there. I'm like, some of those do it. You know what I mean? It's like I am the most kumbaya when it comes to like, if you can do something compelling with it, do something compelling with it. For my ears, I have a couple kind of go-to boards that I really love. I have a keyboard called the Cat by the company Octave that I don't think they've made keyboard. They probably got bought out by Dave Smith, you know what I mean, in the 80s, whatever. But it's like a weird paraphonic synth that you just slide, you know, sliders instead of twist knobs more than anything. And it's really noisy and it's really out of control. And I find that anytime we pull that board out, it finds a way to make it on the record, which you can't say for a lot of like really great synths. Like, you know what I mean? Like the Moog is obviously the go-tos for a lot of things, right? I have a Moog source that I do use quite a bit, right? But like the Moog, like the sub 37 or kind of some of those Moogs, it's like you play and you're like, like I know what this is doing and it sounds great. And it's really expensive sounding, and it has a good beefy low end. But just from like my personal taste, I'm like, I want a listener to go, what planet did that sound come from? Not like what factory in North Carolina did that sound come from, right? And so the Cat, and the thing with the Cat too is obviously you can't save any presets. So it's like the game with the Cat is like figure out how to like actually turn it on. You know what I mean? It's like it's one of those where it's like it almost takes a degree to be able to use it correctly. And so, but I actually know like the back of my hand at this point. But I love that. I love the SH-101 because again, it has just like a ratty low end that instead of using a Moog, which has a really beautiful low end, I'm like, yeah, let's kind of like kick them in the nuts a little bit, you know. So I plug that thing in quite a bit, and then I'm one of those dudes that just has decided to like instead of having a retirement fund, like buy modular gear, and so I have just tons and tons of modular things where I patch it with a bunch of stuff. Robbie Connolly built me one of his new reissues of Synthicons again, it's beautiful because of how squirrely it is. But a thing you'll notice from me probably in any of these things is like, stop doing the obvious thing, take risks, and with synth especially, like put something on there that's bold that you're like, people are gonna hate this. I'm like, no. People don't listen to music like that. People don't listen to music generally and hate it, right? And so surprise them, you know, and give them a shot to love it, you know.
So your philosophy there, give them something to love. You were with Joshua James.
Mhm.
Joshua James is very country-esque,
Well,
like folk.
Americana, yeah.
Americana, yeah. But that's not where you're finding a lot of your success from.
Well, well, yes and no, like I don't do a ton of work in that genre. The thing is that, and I tell this to people all the time, like I learned very quickly that I could never do what he does. And that is it's like with the most minimal amount of production, at least when we were playing, it's like that dude, and I say this all the time, like that dude could sing you the alphabet and you would cry. You'd be like, wow, like that dude believes it. You know what I mean? Like that there's something to be said for knowing where your voice sits. And I tried that, and you're right, dude, it didn't work, right? And those years touring and playing, I mean, dude, Josh and I still jam all the time. We still make recordings and do all kinds of stuff like that too. But when I was touring with them kind of nonstop, the education I got from that is like, stop trying to do what you can't do, right? What I can do is I can get in and I can just dig my hands into a sound and just go like, how can I make this something that my wife can listen to, but also some 15-year-old kid can be like, this dude gets me, right? Joshua can do that with his voice and with his songs, right? Like, yeah, you're right. Like that's something that I don't have. And therefore, like, I don't do a ton of work in that world because there's just other dudes doing it better. And I'm like, why fight something that I can't do as well, right? And so instead I just go, I have now full confidence in what I feel like makes me great. And I used to like be afraid to even say those words, right? And dude, even now, sometimes the darkness gets me and I'm like staring at a wall at 3 a.m. going like, am I a hack? And did I make the worst mistakes? I should have stayed at UVU, bro. You know what I mean? Like, should have finished school and, you know, and trust me, there are a lot of nights where I'm like, you say like, oh, sometimes I'm jealous of Nate. I'm like, sometimes I'm jealous of Brian. Brian's like, I know where my paycheck's coming from and I get to do a cool thing every day. And I'm like, that sounds awesome. Some of those days where you're like, client decided not to pay me for this record, you know? But I don't do a lot of that genre specifically, but that's not because it's not worthy or not because there's not, in fact, again, like I'm jealous of the dudes that can just be like, they can get up on stage with a guitar and just blow you away and you're like, and like I have to have like 7 keyboards up there with lights flashing so that everybody in the audience is like, oh, there must be something cool happening, you know? Just like, yes, ignore the man behind the curtain, you know, enjoy that. But that's kind of my niche, yeah.
You've been in groups like Late Night Alumni.
I wasn't in that group, but I've worked a lot with Late Night Alumni, yes.
Have you performed with them though?
Yeah, well, kind of.
Okay.
So Late Night Alumni, we played shows with those dudes, but also Late Night Alumni, Becky and John, we've done big shows together, but it's kind of big group shows. So it's not, I wish I could say but both Becky and John, I mean, John's a genius and Becky's just one of the most talented singers ever. I wish that they would let me be in their band, but but we have performed together, yes.
Yeah, I've seen you perform with them before, so I just assumed you're in.
I wish.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So, but that's going from Americana. And if you guys, does anybody in here know Late Night Alumni? You heard Late Night Alumni? It's EDM, but it's very classified EDM as, and what's the genre we call it? House?
I mean, you would, the thing is funny is because like, it's even so much more song driven than house, but yeah, it's very much in the dance world though, you know, it's very much in the electronic world, yeah.
Yeah, so the thing that I'm alluding to with this for you guys, you come into like a degree like this, right? we get into audio, and I, for one, thought all I would ever do is work on music 100% of the time. And then opportunities showed up where I was doing posts for film and television. And maybe it wasn't my strong point, but there was a need, and so I just stepped in and filled it. And that's what Nate's saying here too. Like
100%.
he just found places. When we were at the university here together, he was in a rock band,
Yeah,
Code Hero.
yeah.
Yeah. And
It was just a butter boat though, man. I gotta be honest, but I appreciate you even remembering that again.
no, I remember, but you know, it was fun times. You said something that I also find important to talk about.
Okay.
And you said sometimes you don't know where your paycheck's coming from.
Terrifying.
How do you go out finding work? What do you do to market yourself?
That's a great question. That's a great question. So again, like I used to actually teach a little bit to kind of help subsidize some bills and things like that. And by the way, I love teaching. Like and this is where I think you and I, we don't need to be too jealous of each other because we both get to kind of do things that cross over, right?
Yeah.
Teaching, I taught at a high school for a little bit, like a charter school. I taught here at UVU for a little bit in the commercial music. They don't pay you enough to make it like, hey man, I gotta rely on this. It's like you do it because you love doing it, and I do love doing it. But the number one question every single time was, and I still get asked this to kids who graduate BYU that, hey, can I take you out to lunch? I'm like, we'll come down to the studio. What do you think the number one question is? Every single time is, how on earth do you have a living doing this, right? And you may love or you may hate the answers that I give them, but I give them the same answers every time. And that is like, if you're doing this to get rich, go get a business degree, go start some businesses, make a grip of cash, and then do this because you can do this on site. Now, if you're going, well, for me, that doesn't leave me enough time to do the creative stuff that I love doing. And so that doesn't work for me, right? If you're going like, okay, cool, I'm more like that, then it's like, okay, cool. Come to some very fundamental understandings from the very beginning. And that is like, I didn't teach because I thought I was going to get rich teaching. I taught because I love teaching. And it fulfilled me in so many other ways that I found a way to make it work, right? In music, in like, I'm going to take it outside of music. In audio, in the field of audio, is like you have to have a couple traits. One, you have to be able to know that you're never going to be as rich as your friends that have business degrees, that start businesses, that have boats and all that type of stuff. That's just like, dude, if you want a boat, don't do this. I'm just saying, like, don't do this. I don't need a boat. You know what I mean? So that works out great, right? You need to be in relationships with people that have the very clearest of understanding from the beginning that they would much rather have you be a happy person. And that the value in being attached to happy, fulfilled people is actually more valuable than being attached to rich people. And I will leave that up to you all to figure out the nuances of what that means. But by the way, that might be the hardest one. That's a hard thing to find. 3, you have to be able to work a 15-hour day, 5 days in a row, with an artist that you just want to strangle, and you have to be able to wake up the next morning and go, I can't wait to get back down to the studio and start building something from nothing again, because like that's a real thing. So that's kind of from like the logistical work side of things. What you have to have outside of that is you have to have ears that you have put a lot of time into training. And by that, I mean, you have to have good taste in music. You have to know what you're listening for. And by the way, that's not an easy thing to do, because like Brian and I, we have better taste in music than you guys. I'm sorry, we do. But the thing is it wasn't by accident. And it's not something we were born with. My taste in music used to freaking suck. If I could show you guys my playlist in the 90s, you might not, dude, nobody would hire me. Dude, he brought up a band of mine that I'm like, please don't Google. You know what I mean? I'm just like, of the songs that I was making. We have better taste in music than you guys because we've dedicated our lives to it. We've dedicated our lives to it. We have sacrificed time, we've sacrificed money, we've sacrificed relationships, we've sacrificed friendships. We've sacrificed everything so that we can have better taste in music than the general population. So that when you or somebody that's wanting to record music or whoever is coming to me to record music, they can trust the fact that if I say, I think that this is the way that we should go, they can take confidence in being like, you know what, that dude has a track record. That dude, even if I'm scared, that dude hasn't led me astray, I'm gonna follow that dude. Last thing I was just gonna say is don't be a freaking coward. And that's maybe the hardest one for me at times still, is that it's like, if you're scared, you're gonna fail because there's a million other me's like that in this world that are just waiting to come and take your work. By the way, there's a million other young me's, maybe even sitting in this classroom, it's coming for me too. Like I do well here, I have a good thing going, right? It's taken me 12, 13, 14 years to build. And there's a kid in a classroom somewhere going, I bet you I have better taste in music than that dude. And I'm like, fine, prove it. Fine, show me. And there's some kid there that's going like, hey man, I know that dude charges a lot of money. And guess what? I've earned that. I've earned the chance to charge a lot of money. But guess what? There's some kid in some classroom going, I'll do it for half of that. I'll do it for a fraction of that just to prove that I'm better than you. And guess what? I'm here going like, hell yeah, do it, prove it. Because guess what? You're gonna do something and it might be awesome, but guess what? I'm gonna be like, all right, cool, check this out. You know what I mean? Like, but dude, this is good. This is healthy. This is how any sort of a good business should work, right? And so the last thing is that like, you need to almost kind of have a bit of insanity, right? Like you almost kind of have to believe that you can beat me and that you can be bright at what we do. You have to believe that fundamentally, because if not, if you're scared, all it's gonna take is a couple of, dude, I've got some records coming out pretty soon. All it's gonna take is a couple of those records and you're gonna hear them be like, nope, I need to go get a business degree. And I'm like, sweet, that's probably smart. That's probably the smart thing. But you might listen to those and be like, do that. I'm like, sweet, let's go, show me. So anyways, those are kind of the logistical things. And then those are kind of, and dude, the rest of it's just hustle, man. The rest of it's just hustle. We just did Yo Gabba Gabba. I never thought I would be doing audio to a television show, right? But like what I say is like, but dude, that job popped up and I said, okay, right, sweet. And now that has turned into a raging success. I'm just like, okay, cool, So anyways, just hustle. So anyways, does that sound crazy?
No, it sounds.
Do any of those things sound flawed?
No, they sound right to me.
Because you can push back against them if they sound crazy.
The thing that you brought up that I think is misunderstood in our industry, I think in Utah in general, but it's gotten better. I'd say in like the last 5 years, a lot better. Is you said the competition is important, and there was a time where I call it co-opetition, where it was like, I'm gonna take every project and I'm gonna hug onto it so tight that you're never gonna see the light of day on anything else. And then there's a level, and Nate and I like I said, we've known each other so long. There's been times where I just called Nate up and I'm like, I'm producing something, I don't know how to get this sound. How'd they get the sound on this? And he'll just be like, take your distressor and turn it to this and go. And then you take your distressor, you turn it to whatever he said and you go, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, that makes sense, right? But that's healthy, like
Completely.
I don't have to say I'm taking away an artist from you because I'm looking to try to help somebody find a sound. This is just, dude, you've got the experience, especially in this realm and arena. How would you go about it? I'm gonna tell them about, without going into too much detail, this summer, he called me up and said, hey, we have this opportunity for a court case. I know that you understand certain things better than I do.
Yep.
Will you help me out so that we can break this case open? I sat there, we did some math inside of a house, said there's no way that this works based off of math alone, but let's also go prove it
Throw up some mics.
with the audio.
Yep.
And we took and created really loud sounds and see if we could pick them up on the other side of the house. And the mathematics played out perfectly to what we captured. And so we will potentially be going to court and talking in front of lawyers and a judge and saying, mathematically, this doesn't work. Also, practically, we actually recreated the scenario, doesn't work. So
See, but I wanna highlight the point that you're not saying that you need to is. This man understands the science behind that I'm unwilling to understand. I'm unwilling to do it. No, I mean that.
all right,
Some people are like, oh man, I would give anything to learn how to sing as good as you. I'm like, no, you wouldn't. You really wouldn't. Hey man, I'd give anything to do what you do. No, you wouldn't. I've had to sacrifice everything. No, you wouldn't. So stop saying that. I am unwilling to understand the science behind sound like this man understands it. I am the dude that goes, let me just throw up some mics and see what my ears say, right? But this is to your point, dude, I hire people all the time that are way better musicians than me to come play on my records. I'm not scared that they're gonna come take my work. People aren't coming to me because I'm a great musician. People are coming to me because I got ears and I have better taste in music than they do, right? The point that you're saying that I'm trying to say is, yes, of course, why would you not say, dude, you know what this paper means? Come on,
show
man.
the camera, show what you're looking at.
I was like, cool, man, I see some lines that I kind of know what they mean in the synth world, but like, he's like, man, what it was, so you could take the sound, it's like every 6 feet, it drops 6 dB and stuff like this. You could take 100 feet, and if you times by speed of sound, I'm just like, sure, man, just tell me what to do, you know? And it's amazing because then for me, I'm like, dude, it makes my life easier to collaborate. Like, dude, I want to clarify because you brought up such a great point. I believe in competition, but I don't believe that you should ever want to be better than somebody else by tearing somebody else down. Like there is sometimes an infectious disease in our world in the arts to where you will feel imposter syndrome and you will feel like your work doesn't stack up. Then make better work. Don't go, well, that's not nearly as good as people. Dude, trust me, there's a lot of people out there making records that I listen to and I'm like, this actually sounds like ass and I don't know how this is working. But I don't go, so I'm not gonna like worry about it because like I'm unwilling to. I go, no, let me try to understand that and still just do better work, right? So the point, and I think you're trying to say the same thing, right? Competition in an industry like this works when you look at the Beatles and the Beach Boys, right? It's like you look at two people going, that other person's making something brilliant. I recognize and acknowledge how brilliant that other person's making something. I want to make something a little bit more brilliant, right? Dude, the people, you should look at the people that I have around me. I have a studio down in Provo. I sublet the rooms upstairs. I literally try to find my competition and get them as close to me as possible. Because I want to see what cool stuff they're doing. And guess what? Dude, Brian nailed it. I don't pet my ideas. I don't hide I don't want to be a trick producer. I don't want people to come to me because I got tricks. And so it's like, dude, if people are like, man, how'd you do that? Here's exactly how I did it. Here's exactly how I did it. Go and do it better. Then show me. You know what I mean? Like, dude, this is not a threatening thing.
Right.
Dude, Mason that works upstairs, Mason Winter, he was in a band that I produced, and that dude would bring me in sound design that I was like, this freaking turd is crushing me in this world. I better figure out how he's doing this, right? And I told him straight up, hey, listen, man, you're crushing this. I need you to show me how to do this. And he was like, sure, here's how to do it. And then guess what? That opened a door for him when I had a room in the studio. And I said, dude, quit your job and come freaking be a producer and work at the studio. Really? Yeah, I'll get you work. I'll bring you work. Dude, I hire that dude all the time. Because he does, dude, he has a secret sauce, man. I don't know. He's shown me how to do it. I'm like, I can't do it. Right? The point is like, dude, I surround myself with talented people. I'm not scared of them. I don't try to edge them out. I don't try to tear them down. I'm like, cool, let me inspire you. Come and freaking inspire me too. Let's make killer records together. Dude, on Yo Gabba Gabba, he ended up being literally the main sound editor of the entire dialogue for the entire 2 seasons worth of the new season of Yo Gabba Gabba because he wasn't a freaking butthole. Like he came over and I was like, how did you make this? He's like, here's how I made it. I'm like, great, you're in. Great, you're not one of those dudes. You're not one of those like, you do your own ideas, right? So anyways, you're bringing up such a great point. And I hope I wasn't misunderstood when I initially said that.
I
Cause
love
you
it.
nailed that.
And I love, and I knew that we'd have an open conversation because we talked a lot, but like I watched so long where people, like I said, they just hoarded work
Totally.
and they hoarded work that they shouldn't have hoarded work. And what I mean when we go into things like this is like, if I have you two and I know that you two are creating really important things and they maybe don't line up, but I'm working on something where I could pull and extrapolate from what your knowledge is and say, I want you to come drum on this because I like the way you play the drums. And I want you to come record on this because I like the way that you push him to record the drums.
Perfect example.
Then I need that to make my album better. And there's so many times where people were like, I'm just gonna do all this, I don't know how. And I think I tried to illustrate this a little bit with Miles as well. I always had to reach out to Miles and say, you're a little bit farther ahead of me. I don't know how to do this. Will you teach me how? Without me having that ego of like, I'm the best at this. It's hard. And especially where you guys like, at some point, you're gonna be competing for jobs. Guess what happens down the line? You're not competing for jobs, you're saying, I need you to come work for me. That's right. Because you've got this talent. And that's what what he beautifully.
Do you want to move on, or can I follow up with that too?
Follow
Because
up.
You're making some points that I actually think are maybe the most, it's way more important than me talking about myself. And the points that you're bringing up are a couple that I want to just really highlight. One, and if I could literally leave you with one phrase today, it would be, if you're making your decisions based out of fear, it's the wrong decision. And I truly mean that, by the way, so much bigger picture. I literally mean that in every aspect of your life. If you feel like you're making a decision because you're afraid of something on the other side of that equation, it's probably the wrong decision. I've worked with so many people that have signed really bad record deals, really bad management deals, because they're afraid that this might be my only shot. Because what fear does is it brings to the forefront something inside you that you need to be honest with, which means for a lot of these people that are signing these bad deals, if they thought to themselves, I'm afraid that this might be my only opportunity, what that really said is, I know that I haven't paid the dues. I know that I actually don't deserve this shortcut. Guess what, my friends? There are no freaking shortcuts. Dude, from the Bible to your politics, to your relationships, to your career. If you are getting a shortcut, there is something else on the other side of that equation that you're gonna be screwed by. I'm just telling you that right now. This business is no different. If you're afraid that this might be your only shot, it's because you know that you don't deserve this supposed shortcut that you're getting, right? Okay. With that said, if you are not hiring people, if I don't hire somebody to come and work on a record because I'm afraid that they're going to show how much of a hack that I am, then I'm a hack. You see what I'm saying? All it's doing is that fear is illustrating something. I literally hire other producers who, yes, we are competing for work. I hire those people all the time to come and introduce them to amazing people that I'm working with to come and play or to come and collab. But I do that out of confidence. I do that, I do this with the complete idea going, look, if I'm working with this person and I bring in another producer to work on something and the person I'm working with goes, I would rather work with them instead, then that's on me. That's on me. If I'm not bringing those people in because I'm afraid that they're gonna steal my work or hit my competition, then I need to be better. That's the answer to this equation. There's always something else on the other side of that equal sign, right? If you're doing or not doing something because you're afraid of the consequences, okay, that's fine, that's human. Have good, honest conversations with yourself and then get a plan of attack to fix that so that you can, in the fullest of confidence, tell somebody no. Dude, I tell people no all the time, and by the way, that was scary as hell when I quit my day job and had a child, bought a house, and my wife quit her job all within a month of themselves in 2012. That was a scary, scary, scary time. For a lot of other people, except for me, strangely enough. Because I was like, I'm doing the right, you see what I mean? It's like, I'm doing the right thing. And because I did that decision not based out of fear, I've had success in this, right? Now, am I going to lie and pretend that there aren't nights where I'm staring at the wall and the darkness gets me? No, no, no. There are plenty of nights where I'm afraid. You know what I mean? But usually that fear at least motivates me to get up earlier the next day and go work my tail off, right? And so that is, if I could leave you with one general theme, it would literally be that. Don't say yes or no to something because you're afraid of the consequences. There aren't any shortcuts. If somebody comes along and says, man, this is too good to be true, it is. And I know you've heard that a gazillion times. It's true. And I mean this in your relationships. I mean this in your religion. I mean this in anything else. Like, things take work. Anything worth of value takes sacrifice and work. So anyways, you highlighted it again. I know you probably want to move on,
No,
but
it's
I
all good.
want to hammer this in.
I'll just say something that, because it resonates with me, it took me 42 years to figure this out. And it was maybe last year, 41 years. My coach, Jordan Adams, he also used to work in audio. He started coining a phrase last year that says, everything you desire is on the other side of fear. And when I say that,
I love
you
that.
guys can see the
Dude, I
goosebumps.
feel that too. I completely feel that too.
That's something I took into like my personal mantra every single day. If something scares me, I need to attack it, because
Head on.
there is something that I need to learn within that. Bought a house, been moving this last week. The scariest thing to do in my life is spend over $500,000,
Especially in this
on
economy.
a house, right?
Yes.
And but I'm saying this because to you guys, that's a legitimate thing. When you guys graduate and you have to go out and find a house and you're gonna say, how am I going to afford this?
Dude, when you get out and try to find a job.
Right.
Yes.
Step into it. If the thing scares you, do it. I saw Owen post something for an internship today at Sony. And my first thought was, oh, that would be so scary. I was like, nope, we need to push our students. I'm so glad Owen posted that. That's what we need to push you guys to. When I had a first student that approached me and said, hey, I know that you know Warren Hewer. I saw that he's got an internship position open in LA. Would you be willing to write a letter of recommendation? I was like, dude, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you that you feel confident to, number one, come up to me, but number two, go and try to get this opportunity. Guess what he did? And he found success because he did something big and scary, where there was a lot of students that are like, I'm not willing to go find an internship because it's scary. Well, how did he make ends meet? He talked to his parents. He found a part-time job while I was down in LA and did the internship, and the internship quickly turned into a paid internship, right? I think it was only a month that he had to work another job before they were like, you're not available? Why? Because you're working another job? Oh, let's pay you, right? You make yourself valuable, people will find a way for you to be there.
Great point.
Make yourself valuable. Nate has made himself valuable. I've watched it. I've run into you so many strange places. Randomly, we'll walk into each other at a mall in a different city. We'll see each other at restaurants randomly with people, and he's like, oh, hey, this is my buddy Kaskade. I'm like, oh yeah, I know who that is, right? And then I had a student, Ricky, who was like, oh, I'm working on some stuff with a guy named Nate. Like, I know Nate, like, go make the best stuff ever. And now I see his credits on stuff with you and Kaskade as well. I'm like, to me, there's not a more proud moment than seeing people that I know finding success together. And I could say, Ricky, don't go work with Nate. Work with me instead.
Totally, but there are people like that, but it's based out of fear.
Yeah, but like, push into it. Like, dude, Ricky, go learn everything you can from Nate.
Yes.
Go get so good that you're indispensable.
Ricky technically is my competition.
Yeah.
If I mean, I love the dude dearly, like he's one of my best buds. But technically, He's my competition. He's a producer. He went to school for this. The dude's out there trying to hustle and he's doing great. He DJs. I DJ sometimes, but I'm just too old for that. So I mean, I've limited that like a couple times a year and they have to pay us way too much to do it. But he's willing to do it for less than me, which means he's getting the gig. And he's good. You see what I mean? Like technically that dude is my competition. That dude's my first call when I'm like, hey man, I'm kind of making something in this world. Dude, do you want to jump on this track with me? He's like, yeah, brother, sweet. You know what I mean? It's just like, here's work. Dude, success is not a pie that once you eat it, it's gone. Like success is this strange, like self-reproducing thing. Like success truly like continues to compile more success. I don't know how it does it mechanically. It's part of the reason I don't do maths because mathematically I can't explain it, right?
Right.
Because again, you think it's like, dude, a lot of people around here out of fear tear down a lot of the other people that are being successful because they're like, well, now that they've had success, I guess the success is gone. Dude, when I was doing my things, like Imagine Dragons was like very early on, really close friends of mine. And I was trying to have a band. It's like those dudes blow up and I'm like, well, there goes the success. It's like, that's truly how I felt. Like, well, I guess that's it for me. You know what I mean? It's like, I've had to overcome fear in literally every single aspect of my life. Like, that's what I'm saying. Dude, you said that, I'm like, yeah, it resonates with me too. But yeah, like the more I actually started working in music and helping create success for a lot of people, then I was like, oh, like this is a weird spring. Like, have you guys ever been to Iceland? I went there. It's like there's waterfalls coming off the tops of these mountains. I'm like, how is there water still just coming from the tops? It's like the math doesn't make any sense to me because like the ocean's down here and there's just constant water flowing from the top of these mountains. And I'm like, the math doesn't work, but it does. You know what I mean? Like that's success, man. You know, and so, and again, like, dude, I can't talk about some of the projects I've been told this week. One I can actually is pretty funny. One of the dudes I work with just got a full license permission for all of the old Death Row stuff. And we're gonna do a Snoop Dogg session.
Okay.
And I'm just like, dude, like 17-year-old me is the happiest dude in the entire world right now. But I'm just saying, it's just like, yeah, I mean, that's a whole other story, but it's just like I'm not actively out there trying to just like drum up like Snoop Dogg work. But what I am trying to do is just go out there and make really, really, really good music. I'm trying to inspire young people to come and try to take my work from me because it inspires me to be better too. You know what I mean? It's like I'm out here trying to add good art into the world. And because of that, success finds me, you know?
Yeah, which brings me to a kind of a follow-up question on this, because a lot of people think if I just do the one thing, if I work with Kaskade, I will find unlimited success. They look for the golden calling card. Why is that a myth?
Dude, here's why it's a myth. Well, one, because what we used to consider success, it just isn't real anymore. Like a band used to consider success getting signed by a record label. I mean, dude, remember when we were in high school, it was like, all we wanted to do was make it. That was the word we would use all the time. The two words we would use is we want to make it and we don't want to sell out. Bull crap, dude. All we wanted to do was sell out. We just didn't want our friends to think we were lame. Like, yes, we wanted people to pay us to do what we're passionate about doing, right? But making it used to mean you would get a record deal. The record would find a way to screw you. You would still, though, somehow make just enough money to end up blowing it all on drugs. And then you would need to find a job at Walmart when you're 40. You know what I mean? I mean, like that was making it when we were young, right? To me, making it is putting food on the table. I have 4 kids. I have a wife that stays at home and loves to raise them. That's she feels like her passion is. We can pay a studio and a mortgage, and I can still somehow accumulate gear that I'll eventually sell to retire, right? But I mean, it's like, dude, that's making it for me. I've had plenty of opportunities to go to LA, and guess what? All of my friends that went to LA to do what I did, they made a grip of cash early on, and now those dudes, even ones that had the biggest freaking hits, I'm not gonna name names because I know we're on camera, but I have worked with people that you would go, wait, that person's still hurting for money? And I'm like, yup, because dude, this industry moves faster than me. Moves a lot faster than you. It is constantly moving and turning over. For me, I decided I want to chase stability. And on some level, right? Again, the darkness still gets me, but Like, I wanna be like, I kinda know what my day-to-day is going to look like, and I'm like, cool, to do that, to live a stable day-to-day that I wanna do, it's working with local bands, man, it's working with independent artists. Dude, one of these things, and again, like, I'm hoping to come back next year and be like, hey, remember that thing I told you I can't talk about, because they literally have had me sign NDAs to not talk about it? This opportunity has come from a cool local young artist from Sandy Draper area that came down, has never recorded a thing in her entire life. She came and played a couple tunes for me, and I just went, this, what she is playing for me is good. And I told her, I said, this is real good. You're probably gonna have to borrow some money from your parents because I'm not gonna do this for cheap, you know? And she said, okay. And we made really good music. She released one song as an independent artist. The fame kind of has been coming her way, or at least the success has been coming her way with that one release. She found actual management, and I'm always really sensitive. One thing I do protect is a lot of the young independent people that I work with from the sharks that I know exist in this thing. But dude, I kind of vetted her manager, and I'm like, dude's kind of legit, you know, I mean, really legit. They hit me up yesterday and said, hey man, we might have kind of secured a gig and we want you in on it. And when they sent me the NDA, I was like, okay, guess we're doing this now. You know what I mean? I'm just saying all of this because for me, it's like, instead of chasing the one big thing and hoping to retire off it, I'm like, I want to be in the freaking trenches, boys. Like, I love the trenches, man. That's where we get to make the stuff we want to make. And it's still, you make good, dude, I'm telling you, you put good quality work out there, success finds you. It does. And so I don't know if that exactly answered your question, but that's what I found in my experience. I found in my experience that it's like, yeah, you could go work on big stuff and hope that that one thing carries you all the way home. But like, that's just not the reality of this business anymore. It's crazy the names of the people that I actually can call and be like, hey, can you work on this project with me? And they're working on records that I listened to and would die for back in the 90s, early 2000s. And I'm like, oh man, this person needs work. It's like, whoa, I guess it never does stop, you know? And they've had hits, again, I'm not gonna name names, but they've had hits that you'd be like, that person should never need work again. And I'm like, it's just the nature of this business, my friends.
Yep. So I appreciate your time. We were running
sorry,
low on time because we got 3 minutes before I gotta run to the next class.
Okay, no, sorry. No,
But
we get
no,
it.
it's all good. We can do this again in the future.
Please,
But
I love this.
while I have a few students who are in my next class, and a couple that need to run, does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask Nate?
I do want to pitch one thing too. We do have these producer classes, the producers club that we're doing down at June Audio. I know that you're doing a lot of stuff here and you're doing a lot of hands-on stuff here. I did just want to like, at least just pitch this for anybody that's looking to get really deep into synthesis creation. Scott Wiley's doing a bunch of drum miking, like, again, I know that's a lot of the stuff you guys are covering here, but if you're just looking for other opinions, it's pretty cheap. It's a really very inexpensive monthly thing that we're doing down there that, again, I would encourage you that if you have any interest in doing that stuff, it's probably a really good companion to what you guys are doing here.
Just juneaudio.com.
Yeah, juneaudio.com, the producers club, or just come talk to me after and I'll give you my number and give you the information.
Is there a skill that say you learned early on that you kind of like let kind of go of, and then later in your career you were like, I should have really just like kept up with that? Like, you know, there's like a software or some.
That's a good
knowledge.
question. No, that's a good question. I will tell you that the greatest skill that I had to learn, but luckily I did give it up, was how to finish things. Knowing that it's not finished or not perfect. When I did get the opportunity to work in dance music specifically, one of my mentors, Finn, was basically, he just said, you're no use to me if you can't finish something that we've started. He said, anybody can start things. The skill that I had to learn. So software wise, I enjoy Ableton, I enjoy Pro Tools, I enjoy Reason, I enjoy all of that stuff. It's like, dude, find the thing that gives you unlimited creativity, inspiration, right? But if I could say a skill that is the most important skill, is learn how to finish. Learn, and by the way, it might not be perfect, fine. It might not be done, fine, just get it done and put it out there. Early on in your careers, quality is important, like, don't put out anything you're gonna be embarrassed by, but honestly, quantity is more important right now as you're getting going in a very forgiving world that you guys are currently in. Just finish and get it done. So yeah, that's something that I'm glad you asked that question. That is a skill that I had to learn. You all can start. Anybody that's in this classroom is because we love starting projects. We love starting the building blocks. We love that. And it's exciting for us. Learn how to finish and you'll have work. Just telling you that right now. It's a great question though.
Anybody else? We'll get him back.
Yeah.
He lives not too far away.
No, I rode my bike and it
Rode
only
his
took me
bike
like
here.
25 minutes in
So-
PG, dude.
Yeah.
Close, baby. I ride it to the studio every day. I don't get to do that if I move to LA. Dude, that's a sacrifice I wasn't willing to make. I mean, dude, that's it. Everything is gonna require sacrifice one way or the other. Which ones are you willing to do? You
Yeah.
know?
Again, thank you guys. Thanks, Nate.
Yep,
Appreciate
appreciate it,
you.
guys.
And we'll see you guys from online next time.